All right, everyone, if I could ask for you all to find a seat. If there are not enough around the tables, we have some that we pulled out here. There's a few seats still remaining. Couple of housekeeping notes here today. For those of you who are unaware of the situation, our air conditioning unit that covers this part of our building is out and is on order. The parts did not come in time, and so that's why the windows are open and the fans are on, and we hope everyone remains comfortable. Thankfully, the outdoor temperature is not too bad today, so we can be comfortable in here. Secondly, if you need to use the restroom, for convenience sake, the best way to do that would be to go up these stairs that are here and go to the third floor. The restrooms are in the same place in the building. They're in this back area. They're just above these restrooms, but that will prevent traffic from distracting people as they're speaking. So if that's all right, please do that. And if anyone needs anything else, let us know. I think there's still some food and drinks available, so help yourself, make yourself at home. And thank you for being here. My name is Jen Courtney. I'm the associate pastor here at Madison Square, and it's my honor to be part of this day. I'm grateful to all of you, those of you who have known her, Jo, for many, many years, and those who are new to her family or friends of her family. It is good to be together today. When Jesus began the Sermon on the Mount, he began with these words: "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." It is indeed a comfort to believe in a Savior who understands grief and loss, who cried for friends and for loved ones, who did not hide from sickness and death but experienced it himself. It is also a comfort to gather purposefully with friends and family, to carve out time in our busy schedules to devote ourselves to sharing stories and honoring a woman of greatness, Jo McIver. She established her legacy on earth not just through her children and grandchildren, but by the works of her hands and the gifts of her talents to her friends and her family and her church and more. On behalf of the family, I want to say thank you for being here today. Your presence means so very much. I know there are many, many who could not be here today. We understand all the many reasons why, but the fact that you all have gathered here makes this day very special. Let us begin with a word of prayer. God, we have gathered here today as friends and family of Jo Ellen, who departed from this world and is now in your presence. She has meant so much to her family and to this church. She has given so much to so many. And you have gifted her with such a kind and creative spirit. Lord, it is not easy for us to process this grief, to mourn this incredibly talented and sweet woman. But we trust that Jo is now together with you and Jean and uncountable others in heaven. Jo was your faithful servant and served you diligently. May she find love and peace in your presence and enjoy your glory. As we honor her, let this unconditional love that you showered upon her during her life fill this service. Help us to learn how to love others unconditionally and serve others generously like she did when she was with us on earth. And pour out your peace that passes understanding to her children and grandchildren and all those who mourn. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I'd like to invite the grandchildren up now who would like to say some words about Grandmother Jo.
Hi everybody, thank you for coming out here today to celebrate the life of my grandmother, Joellen McIver. My name's Corey Livingston. I am the oldest of five. There's five grandkids. What we're going to be doing is, my grandmother had a little book. She kept quotes tucked away in, and we've all selected 3 or 4 quotes to share with you from that book. If you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in the room. The people we love who have died are like the stars in the daytime. They are still there, but we can't see them. Sin isn't what distinguishes good from the bad among us. Sin is what separates us from God. A short thing that my grandmother said when she was laid up in her bed, waiting to meet Jesus. She said, "Do you have somebody to hold on to?" And I said, "Yes, I do." She said, "Good." She kissed my hand. She said, "I will never forget this." And I said, "I know. I love you, Joan." And she said, "I'm back, you're back." Which to me, I knew she meant, I'm glad you're back. And supported by the family, that I have around me. Joma passed down amazing talents and bits of information and love to all of her children and grandchildren. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that from the rest of us.
Hi everyone, I'm Andon Duran, Keel McIver's son, and Joma was special to all of us. I have a few quotes here that I'm going to read that really resonated. There were, probably 50 quotes written down in this book or more, and some of them just jumped out to me immediately, and those are the ones that I want to share with you today. The first is, never underestimate the importance of having fun. Laughter is life's sweetest creation. And I think, for everybody's mental health, I think it's really essential to take some time for yourself to have a little fun and laugh about things and make sure that you're incorporating fun, because having kids and raising kids and being such a critical matriarch in the family, that can be stressful, and taking a little time to have a little bit of fun is always good. The second one is, when you think you would like to go back to your youth, think about algebra. That one really resonated with me. In college, algebra is what made me decide that I couldn't just continue to not study and get A's. I got a D in algebra, I retook it, I got a C minus. And I said, maybe I should start actually studying and doing my homework. And the third one, this one's special to me because it's a quote by one of our family members. Sometimes as artists, we rely on other artists to push us out of our comfort zone. So that was a quote by Corey. And I think not just in art, but in anything we do, we rely on other people to push us out of our comfort zone, because you really can't achieve greatness without doing something that is a little uncomfortable. Everything becomes uncomfortable the first time you do it, and you don't get good at something unless you really push yourself or somebody pushes you. So those were my 3, and I'll hand over the mic.
Hi. I'm Jordan Phillips. I'm Keel McIver's daughter, and I'm just honored to be here today and read some of Jo Ma's favorite quotes. She was such a special person to so many people, and when I think of her, I just think of how kind and loving she was, and just so big in so many people's lives. So the first quote that I'm going to read is, faith doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means the willingness to go on right alongside it. And then the second is, life isn't measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. And finally, to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. And I think she was the world to a lot of people.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jo. I'm Shannon's daughter. I also have quotes for you. So the first quote is something that Jo Ma kind of taught all of her grandkids by example. And it says, experience is what you get when you don't get what you wanted. We always had a safe and welcoming place to learn and grow in Jo Ma's home. And we got to learn that lesson, growing up. The next quote is by a Roman poet. It was shared with Jo Ma by Faith Lytle, who also gave her the quote book for her to write things down. It was about Grandpa's death, and it says, all things change, nothing perishes. This brought Jo Ma comfort after Grandpa's passing, and I hope it brings us all a moment of comfort today as well. And the final quote says, we miss so much of life while we are a part of it. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the day-to-day, and I really appreciate everyone that took a break from their day to come celebrate Jo Ma with us.
Jo Ma really was a special person. She was so kind, mostly patient, just carried herself with so much grace and poise, and she really just showed us how to be in the world, lived by example. And she had a couple quotes, and although she wasn't messy, she quoted Anne Lamott that said, messes are the artist's true best friend. And I think it really shows that anything that comes to you in life, you can just take it in stride, good and the bad. And she just showed us how to make every part better. Arlen Corbin also said, a novel can be cleaned up, altered, trimmed, improved, but life, on the other hand, is one big messy rough draft. Just gotta take things for how they come. I think the sentiment that she would have passed on to every person that she ever met was, may dawn find you awake and alert, approaching your new day with dreams, possibilities, and promises. May the evening find you gracious and fulfilled. May you go into the night blessed, sheltered, and protected.
This is my grandson, Christian. Christian was the first of great-grandchildren for Jo Ma, and he is going to...
Lisa, can you use the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Christian. He is my grandson. Joe's first great-grandchild, the first of 5 we have now. And he is going to read to you a poem that was one of my father's favorites, and also one of my mom's favorites. But it started back a long time ago with my dad. Are you ready to read the butterfly story? Ready?
Hi, I'm Keel, Joe Ma's oldest, and now I am the oldest. I wanted to thank the grandkids for doing that. It's incredible. That's a hard act to follow, so, but I can't get away with that. I'd like to, first of all, thank my sister Louisa for everything that she's done over these last 5 years to facilitate Mom's care. We filled in the blanks, basically. Lisa took care of all the admin, all the things that you don't always see. She had one room in her house that was the only room that belonged to her quilting room. She'd go in there and get away from everybody and everything and have her privacy, and she gave that room to Mom. So she opened it up to her, had a huge picture window facing out front where John and I built a nice big deck for her where she could go out and sit, do her artwork, and read, and just look out and see. And so Lisa would fill it with cut flowers and Mom's paintings and all of Mom's favorite furniture and always arrange it the way that Mom wanted it exactly. And so it was a perfect place for Mom. She was happy, and our sister really was the pinnacle of all of that. She deserves recognition. John and Shannon and I did everything we could to try to take some of the workload off of her, and it worked out really well. Everybody was incredible. Sarah Jo and Corey for all they've done over the years and today, and preparing for this has been phenomenal. And I want to give a special thanks to Brooke, who Corey's girlfriend, who was really something special the last 30 days. She would go in, care for Mom, hold her hand, talk to her. She was just so natural, and it was so heartfelt and so incredible. Cousin Jeb would come by and bring half a Costco with him and regularly, and so he was always coming and caring for her, and sit down and talk to us, make sure we were doing okay, and for Mom, with Mom too. And somebody who's near and dear to me, very much so, is Aunt Loretta. She was Mom's brother Norman's wife, but we would only refer to her as sister. And she was Mom's best friend. She would come over a couple of times a month and play Scrabble or anything that they wanted to do, and you could just tell they were like a couple of schoolgirls. And Mom, all day long, Loretta would usually come in the afternoon, and so all day long she was just so giddy. She was so excited about her best friend coming to be with her, and it was just really something that I enjoyed seeing, to see that youthful energy in Mom. My children, Ann and Jordan, have been really great to me. The last 5 years I've been caregiving for Mom and Lisa, and they've been extremely supportive. I haven't had a lot of time for them, but I'm looking to upgrade that, and along with my 4 grandchildren, they each have 2. There's Jack and Tegan and George, and now little Brady. So I've got a whole lot to look forward to, and I'm extremely proud of the people that my children have become. They're very caring. They're excellent parents, and their lives are going well because they work hard. I appreciate them being here, along with Hunter, my daughter's husband, today, and this whole weekend has made a huge difference for me. Mom was a full-time cook, teacher, seamstress, artist, minister, confidant. The list goes on. But she always had my back, no matter what. And she always made time for us. She had 4 children that were essentially 2 years apart in age. And she'd be juggling one on each arm, and one of the other of us older ones would come up and say, "What about me?" I want her to partake in something we wanted to do, and she'd still be taking care of the others and smile and help us or entertain us, and never acted like we were a distraction or getting in her way, or it was always with a big smile and a warm heart. It was huge. Mom loved all things, all living things, all animals. No matter what, you could just see the contentment in her heart just watching a bird or a squirrel, or, well, we could let the squirrel go, but she wouldn't let any of it. And she introduced us to God. She gave us that opportunity. She introduced us to God, faith, and fostered it throughout not just our childhood, but through our lives. And it's been a huge thing. Also, with her love for animals, introducing us to dogs, which we've had since childhood, and will always have. They're our next best thing to family. I like to think of them as God's messengers. You know, that God's omnipresent, but it's okay for him to get a little help. And so if he reports up, or he's sending the love either way, but since he can report up, you need to be careful what you're doing around your dog next time. I got some things that are kind of some favorites. I think about Mom every morning when I get up and I wash my face, because that's what she always did, and that's what she taught us to do. Paintings that she made that filled our homes, all of our homes, all me and my siblings and extended family, a lot of friends and people from the church. When I see flowers in a vase, cut flowers, or if I just see a vase, I think of Mom. A Bible, a church, exquisite handwriting, because her longhand cursive handwriting was so perfect. Or calligraphy. She did calligraphy too. If I see that, then I think of Mom. Handwritten letters from anybody to a loved one, because she would always write us letters. Once we were adult children and away, and sometimes I would feel bad about not writing her back. I would at least always try to call to show the gratitude, because she always kept the letters coming. One wasn't conditional on the other. What I figured out was she wrote the letters to make me happy, but she did it for her. She would have wrote them anyway. And that's just the kind of awesome person she was. When I see a hummingbird feeder or a hummingbird, she always had those outside of a window wherever she lived. Finches were some of her favorite. Blue jays remind me of our cabin, because we see those in the mountain. And I had a little bit of discomfort with that, because they eat eggs, so they're cannibals. But Mom loved them all. It doesn't matter, you know. And I certainly strayed in my ways, and she still loved me, so I'll hang out with the blue jay. Cream of wheat and marmalade on top of the list. Anytime I see orange marmalade, it's Mom. That's the only jelly she used. And it was funny, giving her breakfast every morning. It was always something new and special to her, you know. And it was either gonna be oatmeal or cream of wheat. That's the only options that she had. She could have had a lot of other stuff, but she was going to choose from one of the two. And I'd ask her, "What's for breakfast this morning, Mom?" And she'd say, "Oh, let's have cream of wheat this morning." I said, "Oh yeah, let's do that. That's wonderful." Anytime that I say I love you to family, to my children, to my grandchildren, I think of Mom. She made culture fun. We grew up with ballads and films of the era that were special and taught us the importance of culture and good quality culture. Camelot, The Nutcracker, The Sound of Music, Mary Poppins, Harry Belafonte, The Music Man, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and The Singing Nun. And there's an interesting aspect to The Singing Nun. She bought the record, we thought, to teach us French, and that was part of it, but she had encompassed everybody in there, and there was a surprise in it for Dad. She had us memorize one of the songs, how to sing it, and Dad just thought she was teaching us, expanding our minds, teaching us a foreign language. One day he came home from work, and we all sang that song to him with pretty good accuracy for children, and for being a non-emotional type for the majority, it was something to see Dad had tears in his eyes. We had our first cabin, our vacation home was in Taos, New Mexico. It was the 6th cabin built in the ski valley. And Mom and Dad learned how to ski in the Alps, but Taos reminded us of that. It was really a small European type community. And we would travel from San Antonio to Taos to go skiing as a family every year. And we called it 16 hours in the bucket. The bucket was our Buick station wagon, but we nicknamed it the bucket. And Mom would read us stories, play games with us, entertain us, to keep us away from each other, basically. It's a pretty tight space for 6 people. And we would take off right after we got out of school and Dad got out of work. And we'd take our homework, we'd do our homework every day. And part of the deal, you want to ski, you want a lift ticket, you got to do your homework. Of course, that came from Dad. And he would drive all night and get there in the morning, no sleep. Mom probably didn't sleep very well either. Of course, we're spinning out of control, crazy, ready to ski. Get us our lift tickets, suit us up, and put us on the mountain. Pretty special times. That was back in the day, there wasn't even buckle boots. We had lace-up boots, like the stuff, it's archaic. And they would lace our boots up for us when we get ready to go ski. And kids, let's go crazy. Let's get out there and get it. And then an hour later, come in, "Oh, my feet are cold. Can you undo my boots, put me by the fire, give me some hot chocolate?" "Sure." 10 minutes later, "Okay, I'm ready." Lace them back up, go again. Do this for a week. And at the end of the week, these lines in your hand were cracked and bleeding on both of them from unlacing and relacing our boots all week, and they never complained. They never said anything about it. And we had to bring our own lunch because on a military salary, it was amazing how well budgeted they were and how much they let us do, or were able to have us do. by doing without themselves, by sacrificing for us. But we would go to what they call the day skiers lounge in the morning before we go skiing and get a locker, and we would put the lunch in the locker, meet for lunchtime, bring it all out, and it was bologna sandwich and Tang. And we loved it. That was it. You know, and Dad had a pretty dry sense of humor. You know, we get along with the bologna. But we said, Tang, what about orange juice? He said, hey, that's a part of the astronaut program. It's good enough for them. It's good enough for you. Okay. There was a run off the back of the Taos Mountain at the very top called Rubensall. It was 13 miles long, and we used to ski that at the end of the day, and then, or in the morning, because the run would end up at our cabin. It would go by our cabin, so in the mornings when we got up, we could ski from the cabin to the chairlift. But I remember I don't know how it happened, because I don't know what we did with the other kids, but I remember skiing with Mom and Dad on Rubensall, almost photographically, this one slope where I skied down first, and then Mom and Dad came down, and Dad picked a line for her, and she skied right behind him, and they had skis together, perfect form. They didn't go real fast, but that would, you know, the form and everything was just perfect. Nice, perfect turns, ski down and stop. And seeing the two of them just reminds me of how much in love they really were. Everything they did was that way. Mom was practical, elegant, I like to say. Because we didn't have much money, she would either find something on sale to buy if she wanted to dress up, or she'd make it herself. She'd sew it herself, and she sewed a lot of our clothes. Mom and Dad would have kind of what we call date night these days, and they called it dining out back then, where the military would have a big banquet, tables like this, where everybody's eating and dancing, and Mom didn't do anything in a hurry, and you didn't dare try to make her do that. So Dad would start preparing us 2 days ahead of time, saying, okay, I got a date with your mom, and you guys need 2 hours to let her get ready. Her door's going to stay closed, and nobody can go in there, no matter what. And, you know, of course, there's always a smart ass in the crowd, and somebody would say something like, what if the house is on fire? He said, you come get me. Don't bother your mother. So they would go out, and it was just so incredible to see them like their first date, like they just met. They were in love all their lives, and it just really great to see that and grow up under a relationship like that between two people. Oh, Dad used to tell me that, he said, if you're looking for the perfect woman, you're not going to find her. Because I did, and I'm married. He said, so good luck, pal. But all of that, how eloquent that she was, and how well spoken, and everything that was just so perfect about her. There was another side of it that you never saw. She was raised on a farm. Her daddy was a farmer. And so the woman that you could see go to the ball one night was slopping pigs and making summer sausage in her childhood. They slaughtered their own pigs and made their own sausage, and farmed, raised crops. Get her hands dirty didn't bother her at all. I remember the second cabin that we had, and we still have in Alto, New Mexico. Mom and Dad were building the foundation, themselves out of cinder block. Mom's out there with Dad hauling cinder block, doing mortar, and mortar all over her. And they would, they did all the inside as well, the sheetrock. And I get kind of frustrated and impatient with taping and floating or anything that's that monotonous. And so Mom just seemed to have such a good time doing it. And I asked her, I said, what's your secret? Because this drives me crazy, Put the joint compound on, dry it, sand it, do it again, until you finally texture it. She said, well, I don't see it that way. I see it as a huge canvas that I'm making a painting of. And I thought, okay, that wakes me up. Makes you think of things a little bit differently. When she started having seizures, we were taking her up to the cabin. This after Dad had been gone, and she was staying summers. And when she started getting seizures, we didn't want her to be there by herself anymore. So me and my brother and sisters would take turns. One of us would take her up. We'd open the cabin, stay with her for a week, then the next one would come in the rotation, and then another week later again, and then the last one would go up and close the cabin down and drive her home. She was absolutely worth it. And I always wondered how, prior to that she could stay by herself after Dad wasn't around anymore. This little 5'3" woman, dripping wet, 100 pounds. How's she going to take care of herself if there's an issue? Of course, as usual, I was coming at it from the wrong direction. And the same was happening out at their lake or their house in Elmendorf, south of here, their retirement home. After we lost Dad for a decade, Mom stayed out there by herself. We would go out initially and take turns staying with her to make sure she was comfortable till she finally told us, I'm okay out here by myself. And as much as your children, as much as you want to be with your children all the time, even when they're grown up, you need to appreciate the fact that they need to live their lives. And you can't demand that they spend all that time with you. So she wanted us to care for ourselves. But then I still worried about her being out there by herself. And it reminded me of why that she was capable of doing that. She had lost her brother to unexpected violence in his home. And it was a hard thing for all of us to deal with. We loved Uncle Fred a lot. And I thought, especially since that happened, how could you stay by yourself? And the message essentially that I got, which really helped me, was she said that, it's not verbatim, but essentially, that you never surrender your freedom to the likes of the beast. But you trust in God completely, and He'll get you there. Mom's last great gift to me was caregiving with my sisters and brother for these last 5 years. Something that I really needed to do to make me complete. It showed me the gift of love, not just receiving, which was always there with Mom, but the importance of giving it and the importance of sacrifice. But there's really nothing in life that's worth having unless you really had to work for it, if it really stressed you. The best stuff strains you, makes you better, and it gives you the type of wins that you need in life to be the best you can. And thank you all for coming, and thank you for the gift of Joma.
All right, folks. I am Louisa. I'm the second oldest of the four. And I'm going to share with you some things about Joe that you probably never would guess. The first thing. You ready? The first thing. Lay's potato chips. Who remembers? I bet you can't eat just one. Keel and I were probably in elementary school, and we decided that that was impossible. Nobody can eat just one Lay's potato chip, so we put her to the test. And talk about shock and awe. She ate one potato chip, and Keel and I just sat there and waited and waited and he remembers too. I mean, we were so impressed with this Holly, we just decided, okay, she really is a superpower. We don't know how she could do it, and here I am 50 years later still trying to figure it out because I have not been able to accomplish it. Eat just one. Mom went to high school in Navasota, which is a little town northeast of here by College Station. And she was very, very busy. All I know about is her junior and senior year. But in her junior year, she was junior class favorite, yell leader, which I'm assuming is a cheerleader of some sort, FFA sweetheart, Duchess to the Brenham May Fest. She was in the junior play and played percussion in the band. Her senior year, she was the head yell leader. She was on the yearbook staff in the beauty section. She was in the press club. She was an office girl. She was a band vice president and the all school favorite. And at some point in there, she was also the watermelon princess. Which I think is hilarious. And she got to ride on the float, you know, and play, wear the little crown and everything. I think it's that Navasota, they have a watermelon festival every year. I think it's part of the FFA thing. I'm not sure, but she was the princess. Okay, now this one, y'all are never gonna guess. Early 70s, my father, who was in the Air Force, had to go to South Korea for 13 months. And so he left her at home as a single parent to raise the 4 kids, one in high school, one in middle school, and 2 were in elementary school at that time. And I'm guessing she needed some kind of escape. So she took herself down to the local airfield, took flying lessons, flew solo, got her shirt tail cut off, and got her license. And she flew a Piper airplane by herself for about 6 to 8 months. Isn't that awesome? There she was. Did you see it? Corey put her face on the picture. I think after 6 or 8 months, she realized that she really shouldn't be up in the sky with the 4 children down on her. Okay, she was, sorry, a published author. This is a 2005 section, 2005 Birds and Bloom, and she wrote a little story called The Stranger. And I'm going to read, it's in 3 sections. And I'm going to read just the first section. I can see it. She was excited when this magazine accepted her words. The Stranger. Surrounded by forlorn Christmas ornaments still awaiting storage after a busy holiday, I sipped my tea at the window-side table. My chores had taken a back seat as I sat transfixed on my bird feeder, which was alive with a multitude of hungry, winged visitors. That's where I first saw him, dressed in a drab olive coat, his skinny legs extending out from his small body. He scoured the ground in search of discarded morsels or two. His black eyes darted back and forth, a warning to anyone who might think about encroaching upon his seed trove. He was the only one of his kind among the menagerie of chickadees, titmice, sparrows, and finches. I named this nondescript out-of-towner stranger. Now the story goes on. If you want to hear what happens with Joe and Stranger, you're welcome to come read it, take a picture of it, or we can email it to you, whichever. And she had that way of making stories out of the animal creatures that she met, and I kind of caught that myself. I have adopted a pack of wild deer that are out, and they all have names. 6 years now. There's one deer that I have gotten to know quite well, and this is her name's Mama Deer. This is her 6th year of having a baby, and we've met every one of her babies. We take food out to her. Anyway, this party's not about me.
You're your mom's daughter.
I am. And the one last thing is, I don't know if you heard on the audio, you can listen for it, that there is a mockingbird singing along with some of the songs that Gloria is playing. And that's because in the early 1980s, when my father's mother passed away, we were at her funeral. It was at a graveside service. And luckily she had a plot right next to a little tree. It was like a crepe myrtle, small tree. And there was a mockingbird in that tree that sang during the entire service. While we were having my grandmother's service. And I remember hearing it. And then after the end of the service, Mom mentioned it to me, and she said, "Did you notice that there was a mockingbird singing this whole time?" I said, I did. I thought that was really awesome. And she said, "Well, I do too, and I would like for someone to hire a mockingbird to sing at my funeral." I etched that into my brain. Don't forget. She wants mockingbirds. Well, the mockingbirds are all very busy, bombing everyone that walks past them right now. So we had to just make do with audio. But let me tell you this. It was about 5 or 6 months ago, Mom and I were having a little talk about what she wanted at her funeral. How she wanted her all to go, and I'm thinking, mockingbird. She forgot. She was telling me, I want this, I want that, and da-da-da-da-da, and I said, and what about the mockingbird singing? What? I said, you're kidding? I've carried this around with me for 40 years, and you don't even remember? She didn't remember, but she thought it was a really good idea. So there you go, now I can forget. Thank you all very much, everybody. Thank you for coming, and please, if there's flowers on the table, somebody pick one up and take it home with them. I don't have room for office flowers in my house, so help yourself. And there's packets of wildflower seeds also on the guest book. She would want everyone to take some wildflower seeds home. And don't plant them now, it's too late in the season, but in the spring next year, throw out some wildflower seeds. Feed the birds, especially the stranger.
Okay, I'm John, the third in line, and everything my brother said, ditto. Thank you, Keel, that was great.
Oh, thank you.
There's not much left that we can laugh about. That was really good. So, Mom, after Dad had passed, she lived in the country by herself, 5 acres, and nobody to help her. She finally got tired of that and said she wanted to move into town. But the question is where did she want to live? Well, it just so happened that I had a rental property in Olmus Park area, and I was losing my renter. And Mom came to me and asked me if she could live in my house, and I said, "Well, sure, Mom, you can live in my house." But you know, okay. So, yeah, she insisted on paying me rent. I tried to figure out how to let her live there without paying rent because I didn't want to be a bad landlord and make her have a burden. But she insisted on paying full price. And it's funny, I was living in Colorado and I tried my best to help her with things when I came into town, but she wouldn't let me. She would have things done and without telling me. And when I came into town and asked her, "Mom, what do you need me to do? What can I do?" And she'd say, "Can you cut that little branch that's blocking the bird feeder?" You know, "Well, yeah, I'm here for a week. Is that ill?" You know, and then she'd feed me lunch, and then I'd find out that the washing machine broke while I was gone. I said, "Oh, I can look at that. Oh, I already had it fixed." "Oh, really? Well, where's the bill? I'll pay for it." No, I already paid for it. It's already done. Where's the receipt?" "Oh, I don't." What? So she would never let me help her. She was so kind-hearted that she expected, you know, all of the things that broke at that house to be her responsibility. So I found things to do anyway, things that she didn't think of. So it was just very interesting, you know, that she let me off the hook so many times about things that the landlord should be taking care of. So that gives you an idea of, you know, how big her heart was. You know, she really had everything in the right place. But I really want to thank Lisa, Keel, and Shannon for all of their support during her illness over the past 5 years. I want to thank Russell for allowing Mom to live there as long as she did. I want to thank Corey for putting this together. I want to thank my wife for her support as we've gone through this situation. And as you know, the property in New Mexico is very dear to Mom and Dad. And she wrote a story that we thought was kind of funny. I'll read it to you, if you don't mind. She wrote it in 2003. It's called "A Green Light Means Stop." All that we have been taught to the contrary about the colors red and green is reversed in a warning system in this house I occupy during part of each year. In the center of a wall plug cover above the kitchen sink is a green light about the size of a flashlight bulb. The same such apparatus is attached to a wall in the bathroom between the toilet and bathtub. The dull green color of the unlighted bulb indicates that water is available and that any tap can be opened. A bright light means that water is restricted and that all taps must be closed until the bulb no longer glows. Hence, a green light means stop. Stop what you're doing, whether you're drawing water to boil potatoes, whether you're washing dishes, or whether you're taking a shower or just flushing the toilet. To the uninitiated, this all sounds totally contradictory. The water for this small house is supplied by a well that has functioned, albeit marginally, for 2 decades now. An electric pump down in the well pumps water into a pressurized tank located in the basement at a maximum rate of 40 gallons every half hour. When that amount of water has been used, the pump automatically reactivates to refill the tank. At this point, the mysterious green lights spring into action. They are the indicators of pump activity.
When a well drilling engineer came 22 years ago and walked around with a Y-shaped branch he had cut from a tree to determine the best well site, it seemed more witchcraft than technique. Whether a true indication of water below or an act to impress onlookers, it worked. Through 6 inches of soil and 140 feet of granite, the noisy drill ground its way, spewing out a stream of gray-green gravel that at last came up mixed with a rush of cold, clear water. The well, it was estimated, had an output of some 80 gallons of water per hour, sufficient for a 3-room, 1-bath house with no washing machine and no dishwasher. Over the years, this projection has held true. The green light warning system came into being as a safeguard against pumping out more water than the well could supply in a given period of time. The designer, a clever, ever-conscious man, my late husband, wanted the otherwise silent, invisible action of the pump to be known to all who occupied the house. Family or guest, young or old, everyone was indoctrinated and expected to comply with the water use rule. Green light was no longer just child's play, but now a serious save-the-well situation. This doctrine was so ingrained as to become at times a joke played on the unwary. Naked and wet from head to toe, in the midst of a soothing shower, the bather would hear a phony announcement through the bathroom door, "Green light, green light!" The false warning that the water flow must cease. Lathered body, shampoo, soaked hair, notwithstanding. The butt of the joke thence therefore kept an eye out for any change in the intensity of the little bulb on the wall, not to be caught off guard by participator more than once. A more charming reminder of the water dogma appears in a picture atop the toilet tank. A photo of a small boy pointing to the green light and a caption that reads, "See this green light? Grandpa's rule number 4,886 says, if the light comes on, turn the water off. When the light goes off, turn the water on. Don't forget." Another grandchild commented sagely on hearing talk of the modifications to the system that would involve a second storage tank to hold water pumped during the night hours to lessen the frequent daytime fillings and relieve the associated mental stress. But, the child said, what about the mystique? What would this house be like without Grandpa's famous green lights? Joe McIver, 2003. Needless to say, the cabin was very dear to her, and everything about it meant so much. And it means a lot to us, and we intend to keep it within the family, and we continue to visit as we can, really. But I thank you all for coming. I appreciate everything that you've done, and I hope the best for all of you. Thank you very much.
I'm Shannon, the youngest. I'm glad we took a couple of months from Mom's passing to now, because I've been able to go through photographs and just, it's been a really nice experience. But I've found that everywhere I look in my house is my mom. Of course, it's covered with her paintings, and everywhere I look, like last night I found the bacon fork. It's like, she made sure that each of us had this ancient bacon fork, and it's just amazing. So some of the things that I wanted to share were my wedding dress that Mom made by hand. I found a picture in a bride's magazine, and I think the dress probably cost around $2,000, and she said, "Oh, I can make that." and so from a picture in a magazine, not even a pattern, she made this. It's just beautiful. And so as I've been looking around my house I see different stages of my life. Like I was in high school when she painted that picture of me. And when I was pregnant, she made maternity clothes, and then Sarah Jo was a flower girl. She made her a little flower girl dress. This suit has got quite a story. She bought the wool in Scotland in like the 1950s, and didn't know what she was going to do with it until I graduated from business school and needed a suit for interviews. So she made me a very old suit that is just if you look at the stitching, it's just, I mean, she was the best tailor I've ever seen. She's just amazing. Yeah, there, she made the pattern. And Lisa had a dress too. She was my bridesmaid, and Lisa and Mom made her dress as well. I was absolutely no help in that department. I felt like $1 million that day. It was so pretty. So my daughter is Sarah Jo, because I wanted to name my child, if it was a girl, something after my mother. But Jo is kind of hard to to match anything with. So we came up with Sarah Jo, but you know, Bodie always said, you know, that's kind of country bumpkin. It's like, well, you know, I'm sorry, but it's got my mom in there. So Sarah is, if you know her, she's pretty saucy, you know, and she's not at all. She's known to pull some shenanigans, and so kind of like Calamity Jane, the name Jo has been appended to people's names when they're being particularly saucy. So like all of her friends who share our Netflix account, on their name on the Netflix account is Callie Jo or Sarah Jo, or you know, everybody's I'm Mama Jo. Everybody's got Jo appended to their name. And our Joma had a little bit of Jo in her as well. One thing I'm really proud of her about is that she always knew her own self-worth. You know, I think she knew she was something special, and she knew she could make a room look just beautiful with her talents. And she, you know, the typical military wife was supposed to host parties and this and that, and she just told Gene, you know, I don't really want to do that. And, you know, I don't think his career suffered at all, but I think he realized that he got just as lucky as she got. You know, he realized that she was so valuable as a person, as a human, that he wasn't going to harass her about not being the perfect military wife. And, you know, that was in the 60s and the 70s, and that wasn't popular. Nowadays, we applaud women for standing up for themselves and saying, no, I'm not going to do this your business way. I'm going to do it my way. And so I'm proud of her for that. But another saucy Jo story that, I don't know if Lisa remembers this, but after Dad passed, Mom wrote a novella. And the novella was about a woman who had an affair with a flight instructor while her husband was away in Korea for a year. And she said, oh, it's just fiction. Anyway, so I encourage you all to have a little Jo in your life and do strange, saucy things that make somebody call you Corey Jo or David Jo, or get a little Jo in your life, because it's a lot of fun. We're very happy to have you all here. Thank you so much for coming and sharing her with us.
My baby girl, who is 2, is Donna Jo. She has just a fraction of Joma's talent and sauciness. I'm in trouble. I invite you now to hear these words from Proverbs 31. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. She considers a field and buys it. From her profits she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestries for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
When Lisa and I were discussing this service, she asked me what kind of scriptures can be used at a funeral, and I told her all of the very typical ones about no more suffering, no more tears, and Jesus preparing a place for us, and so on and so forth. And then I thought, we use those frequently. How about something that's very Joe? This scripture checks all of those boxes. Her husband trusts her, check. She feeds her family, check. She buys wool and uses it a decade later, check. She plants a garden, check. She sews for her family and she makes tapestries, check, check, check. She is full of wisdom and kindness and watches over her family, check, check, check. She is not lazy, check. Her family and her children bless her, and we have seen that today. Check, check. This passage is quintessential Joe McIver. I can't speak more eloquently than her family or write as beautifully as Sarah Jo did in that beautiful obituary. I can't enumerate her accomplishments fully or encapsulate her life in a few minutes, but I can affirm that Joe McIver was a rare gift from God. Her talent beautifies our church even today. Her talent beautifies the homes of friends and family. Her quilts bring warmth. Her words through short stories and others bring light and life and laughter. She leaves a legacy for all of us to enjoy, and we are fortunate to be the benefactors of her creativity. I remember one night when I was on call as a hospice chaplain I worked for this company, and they called me in the middle of the night to go to an apartment of a woman who was near the end of her life. It was in a retirement complex, and I found the door and I was let inside. And the inside of the apartment was stunningly beautiful, like a museum, covered in oil paintings. It was 2 or 3 a.m. and just a small lamp was on in the corner. But I was taken by the beauty of the paintings, and I asked about them. The family said that they were originals, that the woman who laid in the bed was the artist. She was a talent. And I asked them to tell me more about her, and they shared a bit about her life, but this is the part that I remember the most. They said that she had had a heart attack 10 or 15 years before that night, and that when she had recovered, she told her family that she had seen the other side. They asked her about it, and she said, "It's beautiful. The most beautiful place I've ever seen." And then she said this, "There are colors there that I have never seen before." If this happens again, meaning if she had a heart attack, she said she wanted her family not to be afraid to let her go. She, an extraordinarily accomplished artist who played with color her whole life, wanted to experience the newness of the color in a place that she was excited to visit forever and wanted to explore. I hope that Jo has had that experience of being in awe of the beauty she is surrounded by now, that she has been exploring all that is new in the presence of God, that Jean has taken her on walks and on ski trips, and that she's painting and writing and reuniting with family and friends who have gone before her. I hope she is spellbound by the colors that she's never imagined in the sky and on the earth and in fabrics and in human energies, and that she is in perfect peace. She worked so hard for her family and friends. She gave so much love. There is no one on earth like her, and she will be missed, but I hope that we can all be inspired by some element of her life, and that her name will be remembered for generations to come. Let us continue in prayer. Creative and compassionate God, we give thanks to you for your continual love for us, give thanks for all the saints who have gone before us, who having lived this life in faith, now live eternally with you. Especially we thank you for your servant Joe, whose baptism is now complete in death. We praise you for the gift of her life, for all in her that was good and kind and faithful, for the grace that you gave her, that kindled in her the love of your dear name and enabled her to serve you and her family faithfully. We pray now for her family and friends. We pray for your gentle presence to journey with them and to give them your peace in the days to come. We pray for her children and grandchildren, that you might comfort them in ways that only you can, and surround them physically and emotionally with loving support from their friends and faith communities. And we pray for this church, that will continue to remember her through her creative gifts and loving kindness. As we depart, let this time together sink into our memories. Let the words shared and the images seen comfort us in the days of grief to come. Let her legacy live through us, her stories be shared around tables, her generosity spread, and her kindness be infectious. In the name of Jesus Christ, who taught us to pray together, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
We're going to sing a nice little song here. The lyrics will be up on the screen.
Thank you all again for being here today. It's been a pleasure to share this time together. The benediction today is found on the front of the bulletin. May the road rise to meet you, and the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warmly upon your face, and the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may the Lord hold you in the hollow of his hand. Peace be with you all.
All right, thank you, everybody. Please be sure to sign the guest book. Over just here in the hallway.
How are you?
Hey, good. You gotta say hi.
This is my sister Carla.
Hi, it's nice to meet you,
Nice to
Carla.
meet
I'm
you, too.
Corey. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming.
And he's Shannon.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good. How about you?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
My junior has gotten big.
Yeah, man. He's springing up, man, like a sprout. Yeah, he really is. I'm gonna go make the rounds.
Just pluck away the old ones, right?
Thank you for coming.
Good job, Corey. Did a wonderful job. This is Catherine.
Nice to meet you, Catherine.
This is Sam.
Corey. Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you. Hi, thanks for coming out.
Great up there.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Put together.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It takes a long time. I think we'll all be ready to just relax after today. Maybe go down to the Pearl and just hang out outside or something. So
There's something about, and it's like a pandemic thing, I guess, this thing of